Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon. First of all, I wish to congratulate NIMA, embassies of Portugal and Kenya, for successful hosting of this very important event about sustainable development and exploitation of sea and marine resources. I'm extremely grateful to DG NIMA for providing me an opportunity to be a part of this extremely valuable session of Blue Talks on enhancing the conservation and sustainable use of oceans and their resources by implementing international law. A disclaimer before I start that in this august house of knowledge and bouquet of subject matter experts, I consider myself a beneficiary only as a student and by no means an expert, and can only contribute in terms of my experience as a practitioner and law enforcer out at sea. At the onset, I must appreciate Commodore Bilal for his dynamic moderation. He certainly took me out of my afternoon haze when he mentioned the millions of sharks that are being hunted, and that too in such a gruesome manner. This callous attitude just about sums up the humanity's approach to bounties of sea bestowed on us by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I can only second Admiral Alim's assessment about lack of effort globally, regionally, and most importantly, nationally, to address these challenges in achievement of sustainable development goals in maritime domain, and the need to raise awareness of issues endangering sustainability of ocean resources, both amongst masses, but more importantly, I guess, amongst the policymakers. In this context, the upcoming UN conference in Lisbon is certainly an opportunity to expand our perspective and bring our action plans in sync with ongoing international efforts for sustainable development goals and the UN Ocean Decade. In this context, very pertinent advice came from Excellency, the Ambassador of Portugal and Principal Secretary of Kenya, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, when they emphasized the need to adhere to deadlines of these sustainable development goals, and hence the criticality of inducing a sense of urgency in our actions. Professor Vasco Baker Weinberg was spot on in highlighting the challenges of law enforcement at sea due to the stealthy nature of environmental offenses and the impediments that we at PMSA also face in our law enforcement efforts when it comes to satisfying the courts vis-a-vis the proof of evidence of these crimes. Also, the lack of agreed regional framework for judicial finish of across-border offenses remains a major challenge. Dr. Inam aptly highlighted the challenges of marine environment and resources and sustainable development thereof, while Dr. Maliha was spot on when she mentioned the gaps in legislation that need to be addressed. Indeed, PMSA faces these challenges in our day-to-day enforcement activities. May I also bring to the attention of the House to the challenges that we face in areas beyond national jurisdiction, which constitutes about 61% of ocean surface and 73% of its volume. The vast area contains a rich biodiversity of marine life, representing 4 billion years of evolution. Because of the gaps in the governance framework of these areas and absence of internationally binding legislation, the marine biodiversity in these areas is not protected and regulated. UN is making effort to develop such an instrument under UN Convention on Law of Sea, and a draft has already been prepared that needs our attention. 4 key areas which are highlighted in this document are marine genetic resources, area-based management tools and marine protected areas, environmental impact assessments, capacity building, and technology transfer. It is hence important for developing nations like us to be a part of this process and to benefit from capacity building clauses and to gain equitable share of these resources, research and development by participation ab initio at this stage. Ladies and gentlemen, taking this opportunity, I would like to highlight the role and efforts put in by Pakistan Maritime Security Agency to ensure conservation and sustainable use of ocean resources. PMSA contributes to the sustainable use of ocean resources in a number of ways, the foremost being through coordinating timely, robust, and effective response to oil chemical spills with a view to prevent, mitigate, and where possible, restore pollution damages caused by such spills. Headquarter PMSA acts as the disaster response center in case of any incident involving marine pollution. PMSA enforces rules and policies at sea with respect to fishing and trade, which are aligned with the UN Convention on Law of the Sea. We deter and counter illegal and unauthorized exploitation of resources, actively participate in ensuring preservation and sustainability of marine life and marine environment in marine protected areas, and ensuring adherence to non-fishing season to ensure breeding of fish species. PMSA also takes lead in educating fishermen communities regarding marine pollution so that the safeguarding of marine environment can become a priority for them as well. Fishermen are frequently educated on importance of regulated fishing, marine sanctuaries, marine protected areas, so that different breeds of fish can thrive. Fishermen are also taught about sizes of suitable nets to use so that small fish are not caught in the net, particularly during the breeding season. PMSA also conducts coordinated training of all national stakeholders for marine oil spill response. An exercise by the name of Barracuda is being conducted regularly, where apart from meeting national objectives on environmental control and anti-pollution drives, the exercise also provides a common platform to deliberate upon and run through the response mechanism for a range of marine pollution incidents, including SAR exercises, and it has a regional flavor as well. And the last exercise actually had participants from more than 37 countries. I would now like to address a couple of questions which popped up during the Q&A session, which perhaps pertain to PMSA also. One of the questions was about how the laws should be framed for coastal development. I think any legislation which takes place for coastal development needs to be sensitive to a few important points. First of all, it needs to be people-centric and must benefit the local communities. Evidently, very clearly, they must benefit from this development, and they should not have a sense of deprivation and exploitation. There's a need to cater for sustainable use of resources and management of the environment while developing these facilities. And for that, these must be compliant and under an environmental inspection regime. And they must cater for future resources and needs of the area. So they must be futuristic, must not be limited in their scope and site. There was another question about pollution in the harbor and creek. Certainly, it's a very major problem. And perhaps the biggest challenge is in Karachi harbor. And I would like to apprise the House, and I'm so sure everybody's familiar that there's a Karachi transformation plan actively being pursued under the Apex Committee. And as part of that plan, there are developmental works. A lot of big nullas in Karachi have been lined with bricks. And secondly, the treatment plants, funding for treatment plants is being arranged so that we can actually treat the waste before it goes down and drains into the sea. This is only a small effort, but we certainly need to build on these small steps to actually mount a comprehensive response, holistic response to this problem. I think the most serious aspect in that is the attitude as a nation that we need to shape and curtail. And if we can change this attitude through an awareness campaign, perhaps today's seminar is a very useful tool in that respect. With this, sir, I would like to conclude by saying that sustainable development of sea resources is an imperative. And indeed, as Vice Admiral Amin said, it is not just in the oceans, but also on the land and our planet that we'll feel the impact of this sustainability and preservation. And should we fail to respect these imperatives, of course, we will pay for this through a heavy price. I would like to once again thank DG NIMA for giving me an opportunity to be a part of today's proceedings, and also Government of Portugal and Kenya for their contribution to this noble cause. I'm sure today's session will help Pakistan to prepare better for upcoming UN conference in Lisbon, and also in creating awareness about this important subject. Thank you very much.